I don't know how many of you know this about me, but I enjoy the movie theater experience so much that there are times when I can enjoy myself even when I'm watching a bad movie. It's actually rare that a movie frustrates me to the point where I wish I was somewhere else. It's even more rare that I actually consider walking out of the theater while watching it. And unfortunately, that's how I felt watching Boy Kills World. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Come on. Do it. Do it!
Why does it seem like I'm the only one who didn't like this movie? Are people right about me? Am I too negative? Or did this movie actually suck? It's hard to tell. I'm gonna go with it sucks. Boy is described as a mayhem machine who's been training to assassinate the bloodthirsty Hilda Vanderkoy and avenge his family's murder. Guided by his sister's mischievous spirit, Boy uncovers one stunning revelation after another as he barrels towards Hilda. Okay, so right off the bat, I understand there's going to be a lot of people who will take this movie for what it is and just enjoy themselves. But from my perspective, this is pretty much your standard revenge tale with a slight twist. That being, the person who is seeking revenge is deaf and mute, and he has an internal monologue that only he himself and the audience can hear. And the voice of that inner monologue is modeled after the voiceover for one of his favorite video games as a child. So on the surface, this would seem like a pretty fun idea.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't blame you if you did have a good time while watching something like that. But for me, the voiceover specifically, the whole gimmick to get you into the theater to see this movie, wears out its welcome pretty quickly. In fact, by the end of this movie's 2-hour runtime, for me, the voiceover was pretty forgettable. It started to get to a point where I just tuned it out altogether. To me, it really didn't add much to the movie other than being a source of comedy relief. And that also has to do with this lip-reading shtick of this character who is already saying things that don't really make sense. And that got old pretty quick as well.
Haven't you ever heard of the healing power of laughter?
I heard that there was a version of this movie that didn't have the voiceover, and that this was kind of added later on. I don't know if that's true, but as much as the voiceover did nothing for me personally, I don't think it really would have made a difference either way. The reason for that is that there's absolutely nothing in this movie from a character or story perspective that's worth getting excited about or interested in. Like I said, it's a paint-by-numbers action-adventure story that's hiding behind a gimmick that doesn't always work. I actually think that Bill Skarsgård does a decent job from an acting perspective in the film, considering he doesn't say one line of actual dialogue and says a lot more with his expressions. But to me, his performance is kind of overshadowed and drowned out by this voiceover shtick. At this point, I'm kind of wondering if Bill Skarsgård maybe needs a new agent, because I do like him a lot as an actor, but lately I've just not been impressed with the things that I've seen him in.
Not impressed.
The rest of the cast are pretty much playing these very intentional, over-the-top cartoonish characters. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. In this particular case, it made me not give a shit about any of them. Mostly because, on top of the writing, the performances come off as very over-the-top and cheesy as well, and it just did absolutely nothing for me. In fact, in case you can't tell, I really didn't give a shit about much going on in this movie. I think the action is the biggest selling point, and probably the thing that's going to drive people in the theaters most. And the action was decent, but after a while with movies like this, for me, it starts to feel like shit is just happening, and nothing really has any relevance. I'm just the type of person that if there's nothing going on around the action to make me care, you can show me the most groundbreaking choreography and stunts, and I'm still going to be bored.
Why are you the way that you are?
I saw a lot of people hyping up this cheese grater scene prior to me seeing the movie. But when it actually happened, it kind of just came and went, and I really didn't have much of a reaction to it. So I really don't get the hype for that particular scene in that aspect. At the very least, because you figure that this movie takes place in this post-apocalyptic totalitarian society, that the world would be interesting and maybe offer some cool visuals and set pieces. But there's not really a whole lot to speak of there either. In fact, the whole world felt kind of underdeveloped and underutilized. This film kind of desperately tries to spring this major twist on you towards the end of the film. But for me, it wasn't one of those twists that blows your mind. It's one of those twists that make you say "F you" to the screen because you feel like you just wasted your time. Granted, by this point, I was already feeling like I was wasting my time, but yes, the twist didn't help.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
The twist also kind of creates this frustrating dynamic when it comes to the characters and the story being told. It gets to a point where I'm like, who exactly am I supposed to be rooting for in this situation? I understand what the movie wants me to feel in that moment, but I think the twist makes it a little bit more morally convoluted than the film even realizes. At the very least, I will say that the final fight is pretty satisfying and it's badass. It didn't feel anticlimactic like it does in some of these movies. It was a knockdown, drag-out brawl that was fitting for the situation. When I first heard about this movie, I heard that Sam Raimi was producing, so that kind of piqued my interest a little. But outside of the excessive use of blood and gore, which did absolutely nothing for me, there's absolutely nothing in this movie to suggest that Sam Raimi had anything to do it creatively. Not that I thought he would. It definitely is one of those situations where he kind of just attached his name to something to give it a boost, and to me it didn't help at all.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
It's funny, while I was watching this, there was only one other person in the theater with me, and that person got up and left halfway through. And I could see the frustration in their walk. Even though I didn't have a conversation with this person, I related to them because I was feeling a little bit of that frustration myself. Bottom line, while watching this movie, I was just desperately wanting it to be over more than anything. To me, it offered absolutely nothing in the way of rewatchability. Just a mindless stream of action that's kind of wrapped in this bare bones narrative. I could see some people enjoying it if you go into it knowing exactly what you're getting into, but I just need a little bit more. Stuff like this just doesn't appeal to me anymore. Maybe in my younger days it would have worked, but now that I'm a little bit older, I don't know. Boy Kills World was easily one of the most agonizing theater experiences that I've had in quite some time. It sounds like I should be giving this movie my lowest rating, but in this case I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt in the instance that maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind to watch something like this. But I am going to give Boy Kills World the Angry Rocky.
The dreaded stinks! Y'all be cool. Right on.